Lacrosse community, my name is Ryan Berns. I'm the founder of the Lacrosse Leadership Institute. It's our mission to empower all those that love lacrosse, to recognize the skills you gain from the sport, to ultimately live your best life possible. Today, we're so blessed to be joined by PLL coach Todd MacFarlane. Todd, thank you so much for being with us today. For those in our community that aren't quite aware of you and your story, can you share a little bit about how you got into lacrosse and where your journey's taking you to today?
Absolutely. Ryan, first of all, thank you for inviting me to your platform. Greatly appreciated being here with you today. A little bit about me, born and raised in a little town called Crofton, right outside of Annapolis. How I got into lacrosse is that my dad was a contractor early on in his career, and we were over at a house that he was renovating. And sure enough, this guy, John Hawley, who actually played at the Naval Academy back in the day, basically, we started playing catch in the backyard. So my dad's working on the house. I was playing catch with John Hawley, and he kind of brought me into lacrosse, right? That was my first taste of lacrosse, and loved it ever since.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool that it can happen from family ties, job, and just start playing in the backyard. Can you share a little bit more about your upbringing in lacrosse? Do you remember who your first coach was, or maybe who the most impactful coach you've had was?
I do. Again, being brought up in Maryland, just like New York and a lot of the old hotbeds, as you call them, years ago, right? Now they're all over, right? Kids are playing lacrosse all over. In Crofton, I was blessed with, great coaches. This guy, William Norbeck, his nickname was Pinky. Played at Hopkins, right? He was my first lacrosse coach. And I had Gene Reckner that played at Maryland, and, all these knowledgeable guys who were coaching me, right? So it was great from the start. I had very good coaches from the start.
So cool. And Todd, when we think about a lacrosse journey, we know that there's going to be peaks and valleys, but we're interested in hearing some of your highlights over the course of your career. Is there anything that sticks out as an ultimate peak, or are there a few moments that stick out to you over the course of your career or in coaching and playing?
Yeah, you go down your road, and, I'm an older guy now, right? I'm almost 50, believe it or not. And whether it's coaching or playing, I don't know if there's a pinnacle or it's all a bunch of moments, right? Good and bad, or, the moments that I had as far as playing, it's just like the bus rides, right? And the practices, and the grinds, and the weight room, and kind of same thing with us coaching, right? It's the same piece. Like you're surrounded by a bunch of great guys working for one mission. That's, one team mission. That's the better good of the team, and they're grinding through it. So, obviously, I've been fortunate enough to be a part of University of Maryland, and be a part of a national championship, Big Ten championships, and obviously in the PLL, right, championships. But then obviously coaching in high school, right, high school championships and college championships and club and stuff like that. They're all special, but I can't take away from, like, tonight I'm working with a box company called Penlax here in Philly, and it's a tryout. It's going to be awesome, right? There's a bunch of great guys and great kids, but that's going to be a good moment too. So across the board, I don't have one defining moment. It's more a bunch of great memories from coaching and playing.
And that's one of the great things, I think, when you have a passion for anything, especially lacrosse. It's the present. It's whatever you get to do with the sport, to give back, see new memories form with others. It takes you back to your playing days. You talking about the bus ride made me think about when we were on the ASU lacrosse team, 2014, going to the national championship game was just surreal. Everyone's in there. The whole weekend was so cool. And that's just one of those moments that no one can take from you. But it's neat that you bring that up, and it sparks my memories as well. One of the things you spoke about, Todd, though, was a singular mission and goal that the whole team is working for. Can you share a little bit more about that, and also incorporate our premise of today of what leadership means to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I can speak in terms of, the most recent, obviously my being involved in the PLL, and, with the PLL, like, it's a professional lacrosse league, but there's a lot of full-time lacrosse guys, but there's still some guys who are working in the corporate world and then still trying to, play lacrosse on the weekends and do training camp and stuff like that. And it's, we call it priorities. Like, where are your priorities, guys, right? If you're in the corporate world, some of our guys aren't 9-to-5ers, right? They're 12, 13, 14-hour day guys, and it's tough to get out and, do some physical fitness or work on your stick or something like that, you kind of prioritize, right? If what you're doing today is going to benefit yourself and the team, do it. If it's not, don't do it. So that's kind of the premise, right? Like, I'm fortunate enough that I live in a community, and my time at Malvern Prep years ago, I mean, I work out with two kids that I coached back in high school. One was Ryan Hilburn Sparky, he went off to BU and have a great career there. Another one's Ryder Harkins, right? And he went down to Loyola and played. I mean, I'm an old man. These guys are like young 20s, right? But I work with those guys every day, and we lift every day. And what they're doing is they're putting their best foot forward to get moving, right? To put two boots on the ground, do the same thing every day, and they're benefiting themselves, mentally, physically preparing themselves for the day. So it's kind of what we kind of pass down to the guys, right? Especially for, the PLL guys. And then obviously the kids that we work with, it's do something that's going to benefit yourself every day, right? And if you're not doing it, you better start. That's kind of the gist of it.
I think that's part of the growth mindset. You want to be 0.1% better today than you were yesterday. If you can do something that benefits you towards your long-term goals, whatever that is, family-wise, school-wise, lacrosse-wise, for our conversation, do a little bit better. And if you're able to do better over time, you ultimately get to accomplish those goals. It sounds like you have a habit of waking up early and getting your feet on the ground. Do you have any other habits that you talk about with your players or that you do to allow you to grow in the right ways?
Absolutely. Obviously blessed to work with the PLL and Nat St. Laurent, Coach St. Laurent. I mean, him and I, obviously he was an Army guy, right? I'm a Marine, or was a Marine, or am a Marine, how you want to call it. We do the same thing. Like, I bet I could go to Nat's house and his bed's made, right? Like, it's just doing it the right way all the time. So kind of what we do, and even my regular job, right? I work for a company called Winlock. It's doing the right thing the right way and communicating it the right way all the time and just staying that. But the one thing that I open up is communication, right? From top to bottom, right? If we're not on the same page from top to bottom, you're going to get into crazy situations where it's like you have half the company going here and half the team going here. It's all mixture. And especially in the time of COVID, right? Like, everything's crazy right now. But if you communicate and everybody's on the same page, you're going to get to the end result, quicker, right? And kind of limit the distraction. So that's kind of what I do. It's clear, concise communication all the time. And the one thing that I learned way back when in the Marine Corps is that you lead from the front, but you don't forget about the rear. So all the little nuances, the slowest guy in the field to maybe the least knowledgeable person in the office, they all have to understand it. And whether they can do it, it doesn't matter, right? You coach them up and you train them and you create SOPs and scouts, and you kind of coach them up that way. And it's all for the better good of the one, whether it's in the corporate world or on the field for sure.
When you talk about it's all for the better good of the one or the whole, I think about the team's only as strong as the weakest link. So that chain that you have, if there's something that's weak, you have to coach it up. You have to provide support. You have to put in processes so that if it does break, you're able to fix it really quickly. Can you provide maybe an example from coaching or playing days or just life of how you support that weak link, and maybe how players at any level can think about their teams and how they can support those that maybe aren't as talented as them, but they can lead them to become better?
Absolutely. So again, kind of going back to, our guys, some 9-to-5ers, and then some guys who are full-time lacrosse guys. The one thing that you could probably ask anybody in the lacrosse world was about, quote unquote, Toddy Mac, which everybody kind of calls me, is I go to the gym every day, right? It's the one thing that I do to kind of clear my mind, whatever it may be. And I said this to our guys. I was like, guys, I'm 49. If an old fat man is bigger, faster, stronger than you, we got issues, right? And they kind of joke about it, right? It's not, I'm trying to one up anybody. It's like putting your foot forward the best way you can do it. So how do you kind of circle that out? That's kind of my approach, is that I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty, right? Like, whether, again, I'm in the corporate world, we have a warehouse, whatever, like, I'll drive a forklift, right? I'll drive a truck, whatever it may be. If, someone doesn't know how to do it or the company needs at the time, but if you can show that you're willing to get your hands dirty and you have a work ethic, you're going to do well in life for sure, on and off the field for sure. That's kind of how I embrace the need, not yelling and screaming and, talking down to them, belittling them, but kind of embrace them with knowledge and a work ethic.
So it sounds like you're empathizing with them and saying, hey, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm doing these things. I'm communicating clear, concise, effectively. I'm working out every day. We're getting better, and you're getting to their level, and that's how you're leading to the ultimate success.
Absolutely. You know, and that's what you kind of lead from the front, but don't forget about the rear. Like, if you have to be willing to do whatever you think the lowest form of a job is, or on and off the field or in the corporate life, you have to understand it and understand where they're coming from. And then you got to jump in and work with them to get better. And that's my approach, right? That's kind of how I work.
And it sounds like your core values are hard work. I'm sure there's respect in it. Can you share a little bit more about what your core values are as a person that has built the foundation of who you are today?
Absolutely. And I guess that's the one thing, kind of going back to, you know, a Toddy Mac ethos or whatever you want to call them, but, you know, putting 2 feet on the ground, getting up every morning and doing the same thing, and just be open to criticism and to be open to listen, right? And so open communication, that's paramount. You know, a work ethic, that's right up there too. And always do what anybody on the field or off, because you can't really talk about it or guide people if you're not willing to do it, or you haven't experienced it, or you don't understand it. So I think listening, criticism, and communication are probably the key ethos in my little wheelhouse. You know, and we kind of chuckle. You know, you get to, in terms of practice, right? Like, you have Coach St. Laurent, and we're at the end of practice, and I look over and I kind of chuckle, like, he's picking up balls, and I'm picking up balls, and the team's picking up balls. So we're not any better than the players. We're right with them, right? So the quicker the balls can be picked up, we can get on the bus and have time together, go eat, whatever it may be. So don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. So that's probably the most number one, I guess, point that I kind of dive into is your work ethic.
What continues to come up when we talk about work ethic, and these conversations have that a lot, is the fact that talent goes far, but the work ethic goes much further, because ultimately you can only go so far with the talent, but eventually someone's going to catch up to you. And it's the sustainability aspect of being able to work hard every single day. For someone like you who's been working out every day, getting better day in and day out, how do you stay motivated? What's your drive, or internally keeping you pushing forward to achieve excellence day in and day out?
Yeah, I don't know if it's drive. I mean, I guess I could, like tonight, I said earlier that I'm going to be working with this company called PLL. It's a box lacrosse here in Philly. That motivates me, man. It's like, hey, you know, I got to be fired up. I got to be able to run my big bones from one end of the field to the next, right, to keep up with the little guys. It's that passion, because I think passion and drive is contagious, right? Like, kids see an old man running down the field, they're like, oh, I'm excited. So that kind of fuels me. And then, you know, going to my corporate life, right? Like, the way we kind of work is the end of every month is the push to get product out the door, right? And we had a person sick, you know, and then I'm in the warehouse, right? I'm picking and pulling and wrapping, and what doesn't matter to me. I'm just part of the team, right? So I think it's that passion that you have that fuels me, whether it's on the field or off the field. But I don't have like specific goals. I just do the same thing all the time, and I try to improve on that.
That's the habitual aspect of, once you're in the process that creates excellence, it just continues to spawn that out, which is so cool. You talked about being a part of the team. Do you have a favorite team that you've been a part of?
Oh, that kind of goes back to a defining moment. You know, there's so many different ones. I mean, and again, I kind of chuckle a little bit. If you talk to anybody that knows me, it's like, I call them my kids, right? Like Kyle Harrison, right? He's an older guy, but he's like a kid. He's like my kid, right? I'm just a part of the team. I can't say I have a favorite team. The kicker is this, you know, so the Whipsnakes have had our number the last couple of years, right? And like Matt Rambo and Dunn and Bryce Young and all these guys. Well, when I was at Maryland, they were at Maryland, right? I'm not going to hate them all of a sudden, you know. Getting on the field, like, I want to beat them, right? And, you know, there was definitely a sour taste in my mouth, and there still is, right, that we've lost to these guys. And I've known Coach Stagnita for 1,000 years, right? And I've known all these guys, but I don't have a favorite team. Don't get me wrong. Like, what I'm doing now, the Redwoods they're they're my family, right? You love these guys, but I can't really separate that. Like my time at University of San Diego and Costa Canyon High School, and like I love those kids. They're my kids, right? So I don't think I can give you one favorite team. I'm sorry.
I know. I wouldn't expect it. I can imagine as a coach myself, each team is just so special, and the relationships you build with the players are impossible to really break. And regardless where you see them in life, you're going to have those relationships and those bonds, and you're going to be happy for people. And even if unfortunately they're beating you in one scenario or another, but that means that you did your job and you allowed them to be successful and become better and better.
Yeah, well, good way to look at it. I didn't look at it that way. I was just like, you guys are killing me right now. So all good.
Well, talking about the kids getting better and better, do you have anything that you'd recommend to the youth in terms of what they could do day in and day out to get their feet on the ground and focus towards the next level? While they're middle schoolers trying to play in high schoolers trying to make the varsity squad, high schoolers trying to play in college kids playing to the next level. What can they be doing in terms of getting their feet on the ground and being proactive?
Absolutely. I mean, kind of go back to the ethos or the Toddy Mac isms or whatever you want to call it, your work ethic, put the phone down, right? Get outside, be active, do something, right? Work on your skill set. And the one thing I've said this a million times, like if you want to be a mathematician, you can't study math once a week, right? You gotta work at it. There's so many little nuances of lacrosse, whether it's, facing off or transition or man up or man down, or there's so many different aspects of it. You have to be in shape, right? You have to learn the game, right? And then, I know you heard this a million times, like we, meaning coaches, right? I'm not a roll the ball out guy and just, hey, go play. Like you have to learn from coaches, like watch film, right? Have that work ethic, do something active every day. And you've heard a million coaches say this, do other things. Just make sure you fine tune your trade. And, if you're not the greatest in one aspect, you got to work at it. It's not going to happen by osmosis, right? It's not all of a sudden you're going to wake up one day and boom, you're Casey Powell or Gary Gate or whomever, right? You got to work at it. And that's the thing. So also too, with that, my parents they were supportive, but they were kind of hands off. They kind of let me do my thing. And I think that's very valuable. When you have too much parent involvement, you kind of go sideways sometimes. So, I say this, like parents don't live vicariously through your kid. Like, yes, give them support, give them as much support as you can, but they got to learn how to fall and fail a little bit, right? And you pick them up. But if it's a lot, right? But I guess stay focused, accept what the fate is, but make sure that you're putting the work ethic in every day. If you want to go to Penn, right? And you're a great lacrosse player and you have community outreach, but you can't spell Penn, you're probably not going to go to Penn, right? So keep up with the academics and so on and so forth, but work at it. And that's kind of the big thing, is work at it and have fun with it. If you're not having fun, again, you ask me why I work out every morning. I'm having fun. I mean, I got two kids, Ryder and Sparky, who are beating the old man up every day, right? So I'm having fun doing it. I'm sore at the end of every day, but I'm having fun doing it.
And so it sounds like the big thing is you need to be focused. You need to have that goal in mind, and you have to work day in and day out at it. The reason you're going to work in and day out, though, is because it's fun. It's entertaining. Absolutely. You know that you're going to be able to accomplish something big, and that's how you're going to ultimately become successful and live that full life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome, Todd. Well, I know that we're wrapping up on time here. I'd love to ask if, for you, I know you said that you have goals that are more just, they happen because of what you do on the daily. Are there any other priorities, though, that you focus on in life?
Family, right? And then I've been blessed that, well, I'm blessed I don't have kids. I don't have kids, but I'm blessed that my wife allows me to coach and stay active. But family, right? Like kind of reconnect with family. I've kind of learned that, I had my mom and one of my sisters in town this week, and we had some great times and great laughs, but family, right? More time with family, stuff like that. I think it's probably one of my goals. And as an old man gets older, right, you kind of value that. I got a nephew that plays lacrosse, right? I sent him down some equipment a couple weeks ago, and he's playing. Like, I want to go down and watch him play, right? We were at a wedding a couple weeks ago with my wife's side of the house, one of her cousins. So like, hey, my kid plays lacrosse. I was like, I'll come and coach. Like, just be connected with family, kind of sort of thing. So I think I need to do a better job of that, for sure.
Oh, I think that's huge. The family, those are the ones that support us. I know sometimes some family members live vicariously through us, or we try to live vicariously through others, but they're also the ones that when we do fall and fail, they're going to lift you right back up, and that gives you the ability to continue to push forward.
Absolutely.
Todd, do you have any last thoughts on lacrosse or leadership that you'd like to share with our community today?
No, I think we hit a lot. You know, I'm not a big talker, right? And that's the one thing that I don't really come to these platforms a lot, but when I do, it's just kind of passing the same consistent word. And, you know, work ethic, keep grinding, make sure you're having fun.
Awesome, Todd. Well, thank you so much for being on our show today. We appreciate you and all that you're up to. Continued success for you and the team, and we'll definitely see you next time.
Ryan, thank you for having me.